Aaron Rodgers should have 5 Super Bowl rings, maybe 6. He's arguably the most talented quarterback to ever play the game. Instead, he has one Super Bowl, 1 ring, in 18 seasons with Green Bay. For years, the narrative has been simple. The Packers wasted Aaron Rodgers. Bad defense, terrible draft picks, incompetent management. But I spent the last week analyzing every contract, every roster move, every decision from 2008 to 2023, and the data tells a completely different story. Aaron Rodgers didn't fail because of the Packers. Aaron Rodgers failed because of Aaron Rodgers, and I'm about to prove it with the numbers. Before we dive into the numbers, let's acknowledge what everyone believes. The Packers never gave Rodgers weapons, never built a defense, wasted pick after pick in the draft. That's the story, right? And there's truth to it. The 2014 NFC Championship collapse, the Kevin King disaster in 2020, drafting Jordan Love instead of helping Rodgers win now. But here's what nobody talks about. How much did Aaron Rodgers' own decisions limit what the Packers could do? Because while everyone focuses on what Green Bay didn't do, nobody's looking at what Aaron Rodgers' contracts made impossible. Let's start with the money, because this is where the story really begins. From 2018 to 2022, Aaron Rodgers' cap hits averaged $31.6 million per year. That's 16.8% of the Packers' total salary cap, tied up in one player. Now compare that to Tom Brady during his Patriots dynasty years. Brady's cap hit averaged just 10.5% of the team's total cap from 2010 to 2019. What does 6% of the salary cap buy you? In 2018, that's $11 million. That's Stephon Gilmore. That's Dante Hightower. That's the difference between a championship defense and hoping your defense doesn't blow a lead. But here's where it gets worse. In 2022, Rodgers restructured his deal, and it actually increased the Packers' cap burden for future years. His 2023 cap hit was going to be $59.4 million. $59.4 million. The Packers literally couldn't build around him even if they wanted to. And Rodgers knew this. His agents knew this, but he signed the deal anyway. Tom Brady took team-friendly deals. Patrick Mahomes structured his contract to give Kansas City flexibility. Aaron Rodgers, he got paid, and it cost him championships. But the money is only half the story, because Aaron Rodgers didn't just take up cap space, he dictated roster moves. In 2018, the Packers wanted to move on from Jordy Nelson. Rodgers pushed back. They kept him. Nelson was washed. 44 catches, 482 yards. That roster spot could have been a young receiver. Instead, it was nostalgia. In 2019, the Packers drafted Rashawn Gary in the first round, a defensive player. Rodgers was reportedly furious. He wanted weapons. Gary went on to become a Pro Bowl edge rusher and one of the best defenders in football. The exact piece they needed to stop playoff collapses. Then, there's the Jordan Love situation. Everyone killed the Packers for drafting Love in 2020. How dare they not help Rodgers now? Want to know what's wild? The Packers went 13-3 that year, made the NFC Championship game, and lost because their defense gave up 31 points to Tampa Bay. They didn't need another receiver. They needed defense. And when they tried to build one, Rodgers wanted them to spend it on offense instead. Here's the pattern. Rodgers wanted control, and when he got it, he optimized for his stats, not team wins. Now, let's talk about what really matters, playoff performance. Aaron Rodgers' career playoff record, 11-10, barely above a .500 winning percentage. Tom Brady, 35-12. Patrick Mahomes in 6 seasons, 15-3. Peyton Manning, 14-13, but 2 rings. But here's the stat that destroys the Packers' wasted Rodgers narrative. In playoff losses, Aaron Rodgers averaged 27.3 points per game. That's elite offensive production. His teams weren't losing because of bad offense. They were losing because of defense. The same defense the Packers couldn't afford to build, because Rodgers was eating up 17% of their cap. And when they did try to invest in defense, drafting Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, Rodgers wanted receivers instead. You can't have it both ways. You can't demand to be the highest paid player in the league and demand the team spend more elsewhere. That's not how the salary cap works, and Rodgers knew that. So what does this mean for Aaron Rodgers in New York? The Jets gave him everything he wanted. They traded for his old teammates. They spent in free agency. They gave him roster control. And in 2024, the Jets went 5-12. Rodgers threw 28 touchdowns, and the team collapsed anyway. Because the same pattern emerged. Rodgers got what he wanted, not what the team needed. The dysfunction got so bad that the Jets cut him loose after just 2 seasons. And where did Rodgers land? Pittsburgh, the Steelers. Now here's what's fascinating. Pittsburgh is the complete opposite of what Rodgers demanded in Green Bay and New York. Mike Tomlin doesn't give players roster control. The Steelers have a strict organizational hierarchy. They draft and develop. They don't break the bank for aging stars. In other words, the Steelers are doing exactly what the Packers tried to do, and Rodgers fought against for years. Will it work? That remains to be seen, but the early signs suggest the same problems are following him. Meanwhile, look at what happened in Green Bay. The Packers moved on. They drafted Jordan Love, and in 2023, the first year without Rodgers, they went 9-8 with a backup quarterback and made the playoffs. In 2024, with Love as the full-time starter, they went 11-6. They're younger, more cap flexible, building for sustained success. The Jets, they fired their head coach midseason, completely imploded, and are back to square one. Here's the uncomfortable truth the data reveals. Aaron Rodgers is one of the most talented quarterbacks ever. His arm, his IQ, his ability, all generational. But greatness isn't just about talent. It's about sacrifice. It's about putting the team first. It's about understanding that your contract affects every other player on the roster. Tom Brady did that. Patrick Mahomes does that. Aaron Rodgers didn't. And his legacy will be defined by 1 Super Bowl ring in a list of what could have been. If you made it this far, you probably have some thoughts. Strong thoughts. So here's what I want to know. Am I completely off base here? Or does this explain everything about Rodgers' career that nobody wants to admit? If you want more statistical deep dives that challenge what you think you know about the NFL, the narratives the media won't touch because they're too controversial, hit that subscribe button. Because the numbers don't lie, even when we don't want to hear what they're saying. Every week, I'm breaking down the stats that expose the truth behind the headlines, the data that shows you what's really happening in the NFL. This is the Gameday Giants, and I'll see you in the next one.